Mr. Taylor is recognized.
I thank the chairman, and I thank the House. I want to thank Chairman Frank, Chairwoman Walters, Chairman Mel Watt, the Democratic members of the Financial Services Committee for bringing this incredibly important bill to the floor. As Speaker, a little over 2 years ago, the nation's worst disaster hit a number of places, including the district I have the privilege of representing. An unprecedented number of homes were destroyed, including my own. As the crow flies between my house and Senator Lott's house is 40 miles. And as inconceivable as it may be, in that 40 miles between our houses, only a handful of houses within several blocks of the Gulf of Mexico remained. A number of things occurred after that storm, most of them good. People of South Mississippi pulled together. They did what they could to take care of themselves. People from all over America came to our assistance. Congressman Gilchrist, district raised something in the neighborhood of $40,000 to $50,000 for people of my district. People of St. Mary's County sent down. These are things that, again, I can't know of all of them. People of St. Mary's County sent down 3 truckloads of Christmas presents for kids who lost everything. To this day, there's still young volunteers, and not just young volunteers from all over the country, who come down and try to help people rebuild their lives. About the only group that didn't try to help the people of South Mississippi is the insurance industry. You see, within days of the storm, the insurance industry issued a memo to their employees that said whenever wind and water occur concurrently, blame it all on the water. Mr. Speaker, the United States Navy has modeled what happened that day in Mississippi. And the United States Navy tells us that for 4 to 5 hours in South Mississippi, we had hurricane force winds before the water ever got there. Under the National Right to Your Own program, we count on the private sector for 2 things. We count on them to sell the policy. That way our nation does not have the administrative expense of having a sales force. But we also count on to adjudicate the claim fairly. And those things that are wind, say the wind did it, and they have to pay. And those things that are attributed to water, you can blame it on the flood insurance and the nation pays. Within days of the storm, State Farm and other companies had issued the following emails to their employees. Where wind acts concurrently with flooding to cause damage to the insured property, coverage for the loss exists only under flood coverage. So on one hand, they have a contract with the nation that says we're going to pay if it's wind damage, the nation's going to pay if it's flood damage. They get to adjust the claim. We don't have a federal employee following them around. The total discretion to make this claim is with the private sector. Put yourself in the position of that 25-year-old claims adjuster. You're looking for your Christmas bonus. You're hoping for a promotion. You can walk on that property and say what's fair is that, yeah, there was wind and there was water, or you can be a company man and you can follow the memo from company headquarters and blame it all on the water and stick the taxpayer with the bill. That's unfair to the taxpayer right off the bat, and it's unfair to the citizen. Let me further clarify this, and I've kind of become an expert at it the hard way. Every homeowner's policy has something in it, it's called cost of living expenses, and that is if your home burns down tonight, you've got a homeowner's policy, they'll pay to put you up until they fix your house. But if they deny the claim, then they don't put you up. The President came down shortly after the storm and said, you know what, if you've lost your house, or if your house is substantially damaged, we're going to get you a trailer to live in. And they assigned, just in South Mississippi, 42,000 trailers, one for every family of 5. $16,000 per trailer. Then they gave another contract to an outfit called Bechtel to haul those trailers the last 70 miles from a place called Purvis, Mississippi, down to the site where our home was, hook it up to a garden hose, plug it in, hook it up to the sewer tap. It worked out where that company got another $16,000 just for doing that very simple thing that grandmoms and grandpops and moms and dads do every weekend, which is called hooking up a trailer. So we're now to $32,000 per trailer times 42,000 times. That because they decided they weren't going to pay on their homeowners' claims, that the nation would pay. Now, you can come to this floor and defend that, but I don't think you can. So the individual who had a homeowner's policy, because if you live in hurricane country, this has happened 3 times in my lifetime. It's the only time I lost my house, but 3 times in my lifetime I've seen terrible storms. And you don't know if it's going to be more wind than water or more water than wind, so you buy both policies. With the idea, if I get flooded, I got a flood policy. If it's wind tearing my roof off, I got a wind policy. You have both. As the chairman pointed out, our nation spends a fortune to have hurricane hunters fly into these storms. Our nation spends a fortune to put satellites into space to track storms. Why do they do that? To give people warning so that they don't die in a storm. And our sheriff's departments and our police chiefs did a wonderful job. Get the heck out of here. This is going to be a bad storm. So the logical people and the people who weren't hard-headed got the heck out of there. We lost a rocket scientist. I'm certainly not going to say the man was dumb, but he built what he thought was a hurricane-proof house. He died in that hurricane-proof house. The point is that the few folks who stayed behind almost all died. But the few folks who stayed behind had their claims paid because they could sign an affidavit and say, I saw my roof fly off before the water got there. I saw my windows fly in. And by the way, I was 10 miles inland that day, and the windows in my brother's house flew in. The insurance companies paid wind claims in all 82 counties of Mississippi all the way to Memphis, Tennessee. But they're somehow trying to convince this Congress that the wind somehow miraculously leaped over the coast. They should pay where it hit first. Mr. Speaker, what we're trying to do with this is tell the people of America, the 52% of the people of America who live in coastal America, that if you build the house the way you should, if you pay your premiums, if you buy this additional coverage, if your house is destroyed in the course of a hurricane or substantially damaged in the course of a hurricane, you don't have to be there with a video camera to record whether it's wind or whether it's water. You paid your premium, you built it right, you're going to get paid. One of the gentlemen mentioned that the insurance companies have settled 90-something% of the claims. Let me address that. I was pretty busy, as you might guess, after the storm. I put off meeting with my adjuster for 2 weeks. By the time I met with my adjuster, I had heard dozens, if not hundreds, of my constituents, as I'm going around passing out MREs, tell me they've already told me they're not going to pay me. I had a homeowner's policy. They're not going to pay me. So by the time they came to my policy, to my house, I asked my agent, please don't say a word. Each one of my steps is about 3 feet. Let's just count the steps till we find my roof. We paced off about 150 of them, 450 feet. I showed them my roof, pointed out that it was tin. Reminded them that tin doesn't float. Showed them the holes where it had been ripped through the bolts. Said, this is my roof. I'm the only guy in this neighborhood who's got this style roof. This is my roof, and it's 450 feet from where my house used to be. Now let's walk back to where my house used to be. Miss, what do you have to say to Miss Lecky King, the claims adjuster? First words out of her mouth, I see no evidence of wind damage. We are, however, prepared to pay you flood. To which I reminded her that was very sweet of State Farm. That's not their money, that's the nation's money. What about the claim for that roof that flew over there? What we're trying to do with this is prevent the need for my constituents, your constituents, someone who lives in coastal America to have to stay behind with a video camera to record the destruction and possibly die with these claims. If you build it right, if you pay your premiums, then you get paid. Pretty simple. Under the pay-go rules of this house, it will pay for itself. It has to. It's written in the law. And lastly, we quit putting the insurance companies in a position where they can bilk the taxpayers for billions of dollars. What some of you may not know, and something I will be eternally grateful for, is because so many homeowners' claims weren't paid in South Mississippi of people who lived outside the floodplain, who had homeowners insurance but didn't get paid. In one of the appropriations bills after Katrina, $4 billion taxpayer dollars was included to pay those people's insurance claims. The taxpayers paid for what State Farm, Nationwide, and all states should have paid. So when people say there's some sort of raid on the Treasury, I see it just the opposite. This is creating a program where the nation won't have to ride to the rescue next time because people will have bought insurance ahead of time in a program that pays for itself, in a program that says if you built it right, you pay your premiums, act of God destroys your house, you're going to get paid. I can't think of anything that's more fiscally responsible. I can't think of anything that's more right for the citizens. And I would remind my colleagues that the National Association of Home Builders, the National Association of Realtors, and the National Association of Bankers, when given the opportunity to look at this bill in its totality, have endorsed this bill as it's written, including the wind versus water language to allow people to buy all perils insurance. I thank the chairman for his leadership on this. No one can say they're blindsided on this issue. The hearings on this issue began in January. The debate on this issue started the week after the storm. There's been ample opportunity for people to weigh in on this issue, and I very much thank, again, the chairman, Ms. Waters, Mr. Melwatt, for the opportunity to bring this to the floor and the opportunity to right an egregious wrong against the American people. And lastly, I would like to remind people that even with Katrina, the insurance industry made $42 billion in profits the year of Katrina. So while they're simultaneously telling their employees don't pay the individual, while they're sticking the bill to the citizen, if you have any doubt in your mind why flood insurance lost so much money, it's because they made so much money that year. We're trying to correct that. I hope you'll help us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.